The Senate on Monday, December 16, ratified a Reciprocal Access Agreement, RAA, with Japan that will allow their militaries to be stationed in each other's territory as both countries worry about China's increasingly assertive stance in the region. The RAA, the first of its kind signed by Japan in Asia, will ease the entry of equipment and troops for combat training and disaster response, streamlining military cooperation between Manila and Tokyo. All 19 senators present at Monday's hearing voted to ratify the deal, with Japanese Ambassador Kazuya Endo present in the Legislative Hall in Manila. The agreement is deemed ratified, Senate President Francis Escudero said. The agreement was signed by the two countries' defense and foreign ministers in July, but it requires parliamentary approval to take effect. The Chinese embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Both the Philippines and Japan, two of the United States' closest allies in Asia, have taken strong stances against what they see as China's increasingly assertiveness in the East and South China Seas, and have voiced concern over tensions in the Taiwan Strait. As discussed earlier, the Reciprocal Access Agreement between the Philippines and Japan was signed on Monday in Malacanang. The Reciprocal Access Agreement will serve as the legal basis for troops from both countries to enter each other's territory for joint military exercises, aside from other defense commitments on additional coastal and air defense radars. This means that Japanese troops will visit and take turns at Philippine military bases while Philippine troops will do the same at Japanese military bases. Furthermore, this will not only strengthen the humanitarian assistance and disaster response aspects of the cooperation between the two countries, but will also involve military and defense exercises. The bilateral relations between the two countries. Japan and the Philippines are now getting closer in an effort to strengthen military cooperation, especially as it relates to national defense. The bilateral relations between the two countries, Japan and the Philippines, are now getting closer in an effort to strengthen military cooperation, especially as it relates to national defense. Recently, the bilateral relations between Japan and the Philippines have increased so that the armed forces of the Philippines have the possibility to obtain more military defense assets that will be provided by Japan, especially for the Type 74 armored vehicles. One of the interests discussed earlier is the potential of the Philippines to acquire Type 74 tanks from the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force (JGSDF) for the Philippine Army's armored vehicle needs, which will help complement the Sabra tanks purchased by the branch of the force from Israel. According to information circulating, there may be discussions regarding the provision of Japanese military hardware to the Philippine military, with the Philippine Army as the primary recipient of these assets. However, the aforementioned military hardware that comes from the inventory of the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force is not the only one that is likely to fall into the hands of the Philippine Army, as there is only one type of armored vehicle that Japan has shown some willingness to provide their Filipino counterparts with an upgrade to their armored capabilities other than what they already have, such as the Sabra tanks from Ascod II, which comes from Elbit Systems of Israel. Local media also stated that the Philippine Army is interested in acquiring a number of armored vehicles, referring to the Japanese-made Type 74 tank, as this platform is of interest to the Philippine Army top brass, as this main battle tank, along with their -1J utility combat helicopters, are in the process of getting their decommissioning schedule from active service in the Japanese military. Therefore, the Type 74 tank is worth discussing to acquire, as the possibility for the Philippine Army to acquire it is there, although not always 100% guaranteed, as plans change from time to time and there are changes. One piece of information here is that the Philippine Army plans to acquire and maintain at least 144 medium main battle tanks or MMBT units, where the given number is insufficient if referring to the number of Sabra tanks ordered by the Philippine Army in its current contractual arrangement of 28 units. With the idea to fill it up when the idea of purchasing Type 74 tanks from the JGSDF stock was first considered. This shows that this number is still a requirement that the Philippine Army has as part of its operational needs. The idea of purchasing the Japanese Type 74 tanks came about as its retirement from service becomes more inevitable with the entry of the Type 10 main battle tanks into active service with the Japanese ground self-defense forces, as well as other potential offers that the country has made to the armed forces of the Philippines, ranging from the locally manufactured R-1J Huey helicopters to the R-1's Cobra attack helicopters that are potentially up for grabs that could benefit the Army's Hera Aviation Regiment. In short, the potential purchase of the Type 74 tanks is an interesting proposition that could help boost the Philippine Army's armored capabilities, especially considering the idea of fielding a number of medium main battle tanks, adding to the current Sapra. The carrier and track variant of the tank ordered from Israel's Elbit Systems is limited, though idealistic. The concept remains just a plan unless there is a clear emphasis that this prospect is actually a reality. Specifications for the Japan Ground Self-Defense Forces or JGSDF Type 74 tank emerged as a byproduct of the ongoing development resulting from an earlier prototype built by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, aimed at improving the prospects of a second-generation main battle tank designed to replace the Type 6 tank. Japan's first domestically produced main battle tank since its defeat in World War II and the adoption of a defense-oriented armed forces that it still has to this day. With the Reciprocal Access Agreement, RAA, with Japan, that will allow the armed forces of the Philippines to hope to add its armored vehicles such as the Type 74 tank from the Japan Self-Defense Forces JGSDF to strengthen its defense in the future.